Hi, I'm Travis. I'm going to share with you a couple of ideas that work really, really well for me. And they are ideas to um, solve problems, or where I can find great ideas to solve problems that exist in my industry or in our company. And I go to these places and I find the most amazing answers or ideas that differentiate me against my competitors. And I apply these two areas, and you can apply them too. They work really well. The first one is, let me give you some context. So my background, I've been 30 years in entrepreneurship, and in those 30 years, I was implementing lots of different businesses, heaps. And the great thing about that experience is I was constantly having to solve problems because we're doing new stuff all the time, and therefore I'd have to search for answers or innovation to try and solve, problems after problems. In 30 years, that's like having, you know, three PhDs equivalent in time, three PhDs in problem solving in business or entrepreneurship or startups. And so you just see a lot of different things that work and don't work. You see patterns. Basically, it comes down to pattern recognition. And then, so that's one data point is all that experience, which helps me to get to these simple ideas. And then the next thing is I'm a learner by nature. I failed school. It didn't work for me, that type of learning, but I'm self motivated and I like to learn. I invest 2 to 4 hours every day into learning about a wide range of subjects. So, not just in my core area of business, or entrepreneurship, or startups, or e commerce. I learn everything from ancient history to cooking to communication, a wide range. And the advantage of doing that, looking through thousands, tens of thousands of books, newsletters, YouTube videos, Google pages, blogs, listening to podcasts, like constant learning of knowledge. The advantage of all that is I'm able to screed through all those, and I've done all the work to find you the key insights, the key sound bites. So I just save you a lot of time. You could do 2 to 4 hours a day if you want, like me, or you can just get the hack or the smart cut. So that's the second thing. The third thing is I've been a coach. So I took those pattern recognition skills of 30 years and I was a coach. And I was a coach to somewhere between 1,300 to 1,500, I stopped counting, 1,500 business leaders in a wide range of businesses and a wide range of business life stages in the life cycle of a business, from startup to mature, different industries. And the advantage of that is where I found the innovation. One of the key secrets to innovating and finding that idea that differentiate you against your competitors. And it goes like this. I noticed a pattern when I was working with similar clients who all came from one industry, and that is they had common problems, but they were the way that they were ideation or creating new ideas to solve it or innovating to solve that problem between each other was probably, plus or minus 20% different. So they had all this common problem, and they had very little new way of solving the problem other than what everyone else was doing in their industry. And I learned because they were taught by people from their industry, which wrote the textbooks by people in the industry. They hung out with people in the industry. They read all the news and absorbed all the latest industry news from people from the industry. So that experience confined their thinking to be quite myopic and focused in solutions to problems from their industry, with very little variation. But then I noticed the same pattern, for example, in e-commerce, as when I was working with like an education business and with education entrepreneurs or training entrepreneurs or farming or fishing people or crafts people, like the same thing. They had common problems, but they'd been taught by people from their industry and they hung out with people in the industry. They read the books and magazines from people in the industry. It's the same thing. And as a business coach traversing all these different industries, I noticed a key thing. And the key thing is they had common problems, But the way that different industries solved that sometimes was hugely different. And that's because they each perceived it, because of their conditioning, their mindset conditioning, and their limiting beliefs. They saw things differently, and then they solved it differently. And quite often, I'd be like the idea carrier, going, "Hey, look, I can connect you to someone who's on fishing. I know it's not relevant to your education business, but I can put you in the fishing because they've solved that problem that you're talking about." And then I'd connect them up, and then the fisher entrepreneur would talk about how he solved the problem, and the education entrepreneur would be like, "Wow, I can take the best bits of that and apply to my industry." And they did, and it achieved really good results for them. And so, that was a huge, huge insight, is if you want to innovate, sometimes the best answers don't lie within your industry. Sometimes the best answers that to solve key problems in your industry that differentiate you come from another industry. So how might you go away and look in another industry? Actually, first define your problem, make sure that's really clear what you're trying to solve, and then go and find other people in other industries that have solved that same problem. So that's how you apply it. So that's the first one. That's the first big one. It works really well. The second idea that works really, really well for us is when we're ideation and coming up with new ideas or innovations to solve problems, is there's a magic box. We use the magic box. And the magic box is, a box that you can write, ask it any question, like a genie, rubbing on the genie's lamp, and you can ask it any question and out pops the answer. It's like, this is amazing. And it's free. It's free. You don't even have to pay for it. This magic box is free, and it starts with G. You want to know the answer? Yeah, it's Google. So it's just using Google and YouTube search bars. Write your question in there, and up will pop the answers. Other people have found the answer. So you just got to read through and skim and then find the right answer, and then take some of those best bits or ideas and then apply them to your business or your organization. And it's amazing. It's so common sense, but I see with so many students that have been conditioned with limiting beliefs. They have these limiting beliefs, and the limiting beliefs are to not even think like that. They'd rather just ask someone a question rather than just go to Google. So I always, when they ask me a question, I say, have you Googled it first, or have you gone to YouTube and have you written your question in YouTube before you come to me? And then they do, and they find the answer. But it's a habit. They haven't got this habit, so they've been schooled or educated into not thinking how to use tools. And so I think it's a major limiting belief, but also an advantage if you use these tools. We use it all the time. We search all around the world for different solutions to problems that we have. And if you go back to an earlier video that I did talking about innovation, and it's about finding the who, well, there are different ways to get the who, to learn the who's knowledge. And one way is to be mentored and coached. You don't have to do that physically. You can just absorb their material or education online, which I did many times. It works really well. So I think, an insight about that is there's this belief, which I disagree with. It's out in the world and lots of people believe it, and they believe that knowledge is valuable. And I disagree. Knowledge is a commodity. And it's a commodity because I can just plug it into YouTube and to Google, and up will pop the answer. So it's a commodity. It's free. It's free. So knowledge is not it's not the value. Where's the value? The value, I believe, is in implementation support. So not everyone can implement. And that's the big thing here, because lots of people can have ideas. Very few take those ideas and turn it into reality. Very few. So I think that's the area to support in whatever you're doing, in whatever venture. So knowledge is a commodity. That's my belief. I think hopefully those will help you. I'm pretty sure if you go and look at those two search engines, I've got another tip to add on to that, which would probably 10x your results, is go to a website called Answer the Public. So answer, ANSWER, the public, PUBLIC, and search for that on Google. And it's this website. You go in there, there's a search bar. You enter your question in. And what it does is searches all through Google and brings back like the top 50 to 100 questions that are asked in your industry or your problem or your niche, whatever you put in that search bar, it finds the top questions. Now, the thing about the top questions, those are problems that people in your niche or your industry are trying to solve. And they're trying to solve it because they're searching for information on Google. But Google has hundreds of thousands of results, right? It's a huge data set to draw it to give you the top questions that are asked. And then the best thing about it, for each question, they categorize it into why questions, how questions, what questions, where questions, and so forth. And then you can just click into the specific question. It takes you to the Google page and it has all the answers. So that is such an amazing value, right? That 10x speeds up all this innovation side of things to find new ideas. Like just go to Answer the Public and use it in this different way. I'm Travis, generating value, improving the lives of 10 million Indigenous people. Thank you.